A security guard expected another quiet night on patrol. Instead, he found a large bag sitting near the edge of a bridge that connects Kentucky to Ohio. At first glance, it looked like someone had dumped trash and walked away. Curious, he walked over and gave it a gentle push. The bag hit the concrete. The zipper shifted. Inside was the body of a young woman. Police quickly learned she hadn't been killed on that bridge. Someone had brought her there after her death and left her where she was almost certain to be discovered. As detectives worked to identify the victim, another piece of information changed the entire investigation. She was a mother, and her 3-year-old son was nowhere to be found. The search for one homicide victim suddenly became a desperate race to find a missing child. As investigators followed one clue after another, they uncovered evidence that prosecutors would later describe as a carefully planned crime, one that stretched across several days and ended in a tragedy that still weighs heavily on an entire community. This is the story of Nyteisha Lattimore and her son, Nylo. By the time police identified the woman found inside that bag, her family had already been searching for answers. 29-year-old Nyteisha Lattimore was known as someone who cared deeply about the people closest to her. Friends and relatives remembered her as outspoken, protective, and never afraid to stand up for the people she loved. Above everything else, they say she was devoted to her children. She was raising 2 boys. Her oldest son, Nico, was 9 years old. Her youngest, Nylo, had just turned 3. Family members often described Nylo as a cheerful little boy who loved toy cars, cartoons, and spending every moment he could with his mother. According to those who knew them, the bond between them was impossible to miss. Wherever Nyteisha went, Nylo usually wasn't far behind. His father, Antonio Hughes, remained involved in his son's life. When several days passed without hearing from either Nyteisha or Nylo, he became increasingly concerned. Calls went unanswered. Messages were never opened. The silence didn't make sense. Then police contacted him. The woman discovered on the Purple People Bridge was Nyteisha. At that moment, everyone's attention shifted to one question. Where was Nylo? Officers immediately launched a search that stretched far beyond the bridge itself. Search crews moved along the banks of the Ohio River while boats scanned the water below. Divers entered the freezing river hoping to find any sign of the missing child.
The search continues today for a missing 3-year-old boy. Nylo Lattimore was last seen on December 4th. Meanwhile, his mother, Nyteisha Lattimore, was found stabbed to death on Saturday near the Purple People Bridge. Reporter Mariel Carbone is live right now at Yateman's Cove, where crews are continuing the search efforts here along the river and in the river. And Mariel, what's happening there this afternoon?
Yeah, Craig, well, crews packed up about 2 hours ago, but not before a dive team was in the river along the river line, really launching from that sandy area behind us. A boat with sonar launched out here, and K9 units were out here as well, all of them just looking for any clues to what happened to Nylo. Meanwhile, back at home, his neighbors are just praying for a safe return. Down along the river's edge, crews are searching for clues. While a few miles away, neighbors are searching for answers.
It's been the only thing on my mind since I found out, and my wife and I have both lost a couple of nights of sleep.
Chad Hegler lives in the same building as 3-year-old Nylo Lattimore, who he says is always smiling, always happy.
Energetic, full of life. He's a sweetheart. He's a sweetheart. What else can you say about an angel like that?
Nylo was reported missing Saturday afternoon. The same day, his mother, Nyteisha Lattimore, was found dead near the Purple People Bridge. A stroller belonging to the family was found nearby, but no Nylo. According to police, the boy was last seen on December 4th at his Walnut Hills apartment. That's where police say 20-year-old Desean Brown killed his mother.
He was never really nice. He was not supposed to even be here. He was kicked off the property several times.
Neighbor Tamara Paddock says Brown caused trouble in the building, but she's trying to stay focused on Nylo.
My main concern right now is that the little boy is somehow found safe.
While also processing the unthinkable.
Anybody dying is heartbreaking, but for a little boy to lose their mom and then not know where that little kid is it's devastating.
Pay attention. You know, we've gotten into a day and age where we don't know our neighbors. We don't know who's around us. And as it's proven here, it can be deadly.
And neighbors say that the family only lived in that apartment complex for about 6 months. Now, when we were there today, detectives were still going through the unit. It's unclear if they're searching anywhere else aside from the apartment, as well as down here by the river. Reporting live at Yateman's Cove, Mariel Carbone, WCPO 9 News.
News of the case spread rapidly across Cincinnati and nearby communities, prompting volunteers and strangers alike to share his photo across social media. People wanted to believe there was still time, that someone had seen him, that he would be found safe. But as the hours turned into days, investigators began uncovering evidence that suggested whatever happened to Nyteisha had started somewhere else, and that somewhere was her apartment. The closer detectives looked, the more they realized this case was becoming far more complicated than anyone first imagined. As detectives retraced Nyteisha's final days, they focused on the place where she had last been seen alive. It didn't take long before people living near her apartment began sharing details that caught investigators' attention. One neighbor reported hearing loud screaming coming from Nyteisha's apartment during the night. At the time, no one imagined those sounds would later become part of a homicide investigation. Another resident living directly below her unit remembered something just as unusual. Water had begun leaking through the ceiling, but it wasn't clear. It had a reddish-brown color. Maintenance workers were called to deal with the leak, but no one yet understood what might have caused it. Then Nyteisha's aunt made a discovery that investigators couldn't ignore. While looking through trash bins outside the apartment building, she found shower curtains that appeared to have blood on them. There were also pieces of what looked like human tissue. She immediately contacted police, and detectives collected the items as evidence.
WLWT obtained a second 911 call from Nylo's aunt as family members searched in Walnut Hills.
And we came across this garbage can that had some shower curtains that looked like it got blood in it. And we just want to have a police officer come out here and look at this because it looked like it got tissue in it.
Nylo is presumed dead and has not been found. Investigators say the searches aren't over, but for those involved, the nightmares aren't either.
Yeah, I'm almost 60 years old, and I've never had anything like this.
Right.
I never thought this is crazy.
Now, I talked to that security guard tonight. He told me that he did see a man on the bridge that night, but he was walking toward him and he didn't want any trouble, so the security guard said he went back to his vehicle to avoid a confrontation or any kind of issues, and he never saw that man again. Reporting live, Dan Griffin, WLWT News 5.
Now the investigation was moving in a very different direction. Instead of searching only for answers along the river, detectives were building a timeline of everything that happened inside Nyteisha's apartment. As they dug deeper into her personal life, one name kept coming up: 20-year-old Desean Brown. Nyteisha and Brown had been involved in an on and off relationship. According to investigators, it had been unstable for quite some time. Brown also had a criminal record, including a previous assault conviction earlier that year. Friends later told detectives that Brown had become angry after Nyteisha suffered a miscarriage during their relationship. Prosecutors would later say he believed she had intentionally caused the pregnancy to end, even though there was no evidence supporting that belief. According to witness statements, he talked about getting revenge, not only against Nyteisha, but against her young son as well. Those statements immediately raised the stakes of the investigation. Detectives began examining surveillance footage, phone records, purchase histories, and Brown's online activity, piece by piece. They started putting together a timeline that painted a disturbing picture. Investigators believe Nyteisha was killed inside her apartment after suffering multiple stab wounds. Instead of calling for help, prosecutors say Brown remained in the apartment and tried to create the impression that nothing was wrong. Using Nyteisha's phone, someone posted messages on her Facebook account after investigators believed she had already been killed. One post read, "I love him forever, Desean Brown." Police later alleged those posts were made to convince family and friends that Nyteisha was still alive. According to investigators, her body was hidden inside the apartment for several days. During that same period, Brown searched online for cleaning supplies, removing bloodstains in locations around Cincinnati. Records also showed that he purchased a body bag before eventually moving Nyteisha's remains from the apartment. Surveillance cameras later captured a man investigators identified as Brown dragging a large bag through the hallway. Detectives believe Nyteisha's body was inside. He then ordered an Uber. The driver later told police nothing about the ride seemed unusual. Brown reportedly said he was moving. The trip ended near the Purple People Bridge. For reasons investigators never fully explained, the body was left on the bridge instead of being thrown into the river. Just a few hours later, the security guard made the discovery that would bring the entire investigation into public view. But detectives were still facing one heartbreaking question. Nylo was still missing. As investigators continued reviewing the evidence, they focused on Nylo's final known movements. Prosecutors later told the court that after killing Nyteisha, Brown returned to the apartment the following day and left with 3-year-old Nylo in his stroller. From there, investigators believe he walked toward the Ohio River. According to evidence later presented during court proceedings, Nylo was alive when he was thrown into the water. That conclusion transformed an already devastating homicide investigation into one of the most heartbreaking child murder cases the region had seen in years. Search crews refused to give up. Divers searched the river. Boats covered long stretches of water. Helicopters joined the effort from above. Specialized search teams, volunteers, and law enforcement agencies from Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana worked together, covering more than 180 miles of the river. Despite weeks of searching, they never found Nylo. His disappearance left his family living with questions that still remain unanswered. Meanwhile, detectives believed they had gathered enough evidence to arrest Brown. He was charged with the murders of both Nyteisha Lattimore and Nylo Lattimore.
Tonight, a new motive revealed for the killings of a 3-year-old and his mother. Desean Brown is accused of murdering Nyteisha Lattimore and her son Nylo in 2020. Reporter Courtney Francisco joins us live now. And Courtney, detectives say this motive could have stemmed from a miscarriage that woman had?
That's the story a detective told the judge on the stand today. We were here for a hearing on 2 things: for the accused killer's bond and his interrogation video. And when I called Nylo's father to let him know I had an update, he told me when he answered the phone he was hoping so much that someone had found his son.
It's been a year and a half since police believe someone killed Nyteisha Lattimore and threw her 3-year-old Nylo in the Ohio River alive. His body is still missing.
It hurt my heart to know my son out there and I can't bring his body home. And he did that to him.
Nylo's father, Tonio Hughes, video chatted me after the accused killer, Desean Brown's court hearing Friday.
I get frustrated and I get angry. No closures. I get stressed out.
Brown's defense attorney called for the hearing to ask the judge to throw out his confession tape. They claim police intimidated him into it and denied his request for an attorney. Detective Kimberly Kelly read what she said in the interrogation.
Before you said you wanted an attorney, but now you're saying you want to talk to us. Do you want to talk to us without an attorney? And Mr. Brown says, yes, ma'am.
She told the judge Lattimore and Brown were expecting a baby earlier in the year, but Lattimore suffered a miscarriage.
He thought that she killed their baby, and he was going to do something to her baby, Nylo.
She said phone records show Brown ordered a body bag on eBay, delivered to him one day before a security guard discovered the mother stabbed to death inside a body bag near the Purple People Bridge. She said surveillance video shows Brown used Uber to do it.
He tried to put it in the trunk, but there may not have been room, so he put it in the back seat. Then Mr. Brown had to sit in the front seat.
His father said at this point, he's even considered hiring professional divers or renting a boat in desperation.
Every year and month go past, and I gotta think about Nylo just being in the river and his body can never be buried.
Brown's attorney also asked the judge for the option for him to bond out of jail tonight, but the judge said no, the risk for the public is too high. She said she will make a decision on the interrogation tape later. Now, if found guilty, Brown faces the death penalty. Reporting live in Cincinnati, Courtney Francisco, WCPO 9 News.
Words can't express how I feel about this monster who's trying to ask for a lower bond. I mean, he's got a lot of nerve trying to ask for a lower bond.
Roderick Lattimore, a father, a grandfather, unapologetic in his call for justice.
Desean Brown deserves nothing less than the death penalty. That's exactly what you deserve. No mercy at all.
That passionate response from Lattimore after what he considers an outrageous request from this man, Desean Brown, who is in jail charged with the murder of Lattimore's daughter, Nyteisha, and his grandson, Nylo. Police say Brown stabbed Lattimore's daughter to death and threw the 3-year-old boy in the Ohio River alive. His remains have not been found. Brown is asking that his bond be reduced.
Ever since that happened, my life is just, is not the same. My family's life, our whole lives, our lives have been turned upside down.
Lattimore says he's confident in the system and the prosecutor. As for Desean Brown, Lattimore says forgiveness is not on the table.
I hope and pray to God that nobody throws some kind of wrench into what Joe Dieters is trying to do. And I hope they let this man do his job and get this monster to go to hell. What he did was unexcusable. So no, I don't forgive him. Let God forgive him.
Well, you can hear the passion in Mr. Lattimore's voice. He says the grief of losing his daughter and a grandson, now compounded by the loss of his wife. He said to me, he said, you know, at least in part, he believes all of this case that's started back in 2020, he said all of this probably led to a broken heart that caused his wife's death. Reporting live, I'm Curtis Fuller, WLWT News.
Prosecutors initially announced they would seek the death penalty. The defense argued that Brown suffered from serious mental illness and should not face execution. Mental health evaluations became an important part of the pretrial process, but after reviewing the evidence, the court determined he was competent to stand trial. The legal proceedings stretched on for years. Then, in September 2025, the case came to an end without a trial. Desean Brown pleaded guilty to multiple charges, including the aggravated murders of Nyteisha and Nylo. In exchange for the guilty plea, prosecutors withdrew their request for the death penalty. The judge sentenced Brown to 2 consecutive life sentences without the possibility of parole, ensuring he will spend the rest of his life in prison. For Nyteisha's family, the sentence brought accountability, but it could never replace what they had lost. Antonio Hughes, Nylo's father, spent years hoping that one day his son's remains would be found so he could finally be laid to rest. That day has never come. The Purple People Bridge has become more than just a crossing between 2 states. For many people in Cincinnati and northern Kentucky, it serves as a reminder of a young mother whose life was taken and a little boy who never got the chance to grow up. Flowers, candles, and toys have been left in Nylo's memory by people who never met him but were moved by his story. Years later, the Ohio River still holds the answer to one question that continues to haunt everyone who followed this case. Where is Nylo? His family continues to hope that one day they can bring him home. Until then, Nyteisha Lattimore and her son remain remembered not only for the tragedy that ended their lives, but for the loved ones who continue to keep their memories alive. Make sure you subscribe to Fable of Crime if you want to see more real-life stories like this, cases that show what really happens when love turns deadly. Drop a like if this video made you stop and think. Leave a comment to share your thoughts, and share this with your people so they can stay aware too. We're telling these stories to remember the victims, to keep their voices alive, and to make sure the lessons don't get lost.